As a way to respond to many of the comments from my previous video, and trust me, there were a lot of them, I decided to make another video on the same topic, highlighting the fact that Jimmy Galligan is the bad guy here, and Mimi Groves is in fact the victim. Now, her being a victim doesn't mean she's perfect and did nothing wrong, because she obviously did. But it does mean that the crime doesn't fit the punishment. If you haven't seen my previous video, then go ahead and check that out for a more in-depth description. But in a nutshell, Mimi Groves 4 years ago sent a Snapchat to a friend where she said the N-word, which obviously she should not have done. This circulated around her high school for a time, and a year ago, Jimmy Galligan saw this video, and he decided to publicly shame her by posting this video when he thought it would do the most damage. The end result was that Mimi Groves had been accepted to her dream school, but it was then essentially rescinded and she was kicked out. Now, a lot of people are saying this isn't ruining her life, she's a white woman, she'll be fine. But even if it's not entirely ruining her life for the rest of her life, it's not necessarily meaning she's going to go to prison or become a drug addict. It kind of does ruin her life, at least right now. She had a vision, she had a dream, and it's not going to happen because of what Jimmy Galligan did. Now, obviously, if she had not said the word, then none of this would have happened. But that doesn't justify in and of itself the consequences that she is receiving. So what I want to do is highlight some of the comments that I found where I can explain my position and why I feel how I do, and why Mimi Groves is in fact a victim, because she is. Jimmy Galligan is not the hero or the good guy here. He's the bad guy. The first one says, the black kid is bad for keeping a video and the white girl is the victim because she said the N-word. Right. This video doesn't fit the narrative at all for the racist right. And you're right, it doesn't fit the narrative. I care about the fact that she said one word 4 years ago, and the consequence is that she cannot go to the college that she wanted to. That is kind of extreme here. Another theme that I saw fairly frequently went along the lines that Galligan was racially harassed in that school system for years. Which I obviously don't know if that's true or if it's not. I'm going to assume he's not just completely lying, so let's say it is true, and that's horrible. I feel bad for him, but that does not mean that he can ruin someone else's life. I mentioned this in the first video, but in the original article, nowhere does Galligan allege that Mimi Groves harassed or discriminated against him directly, or that he even saw any racial discrimination on her part, other than this one word. So what it means is that because people were mean to him, he can then post this, publicly shame someone, and get her kicked out of college. And he shows no remorse whatsoever. I've seen some people try and claim that he didn't want to get her kicked out of college, but if that were the case, then you think he'd be a little bit upset about it or say, I wish it didn't happen. But no, he has no remorse whatsoever. This was the decision of the university. It wasn't that long ago that a white woman could say a black man offended her, and he would end up being lynched and murdered. Not being able to attend your dream college is not the end of the world, it is not a tragedy. And then they go on and on. And obviously, all of that is wrong. The fact that a white woman could allege that she had been assaulted by a black man and he was deemed guilty just like that, well, that is incomprehensible and that's completely horrible. But that doesn't happen today. And just because that happened in the past does not mean the consequences that Mimi Groves are facing right now is warranted. That's not how it works. If every time you say the word loser, you replace it with the N-word, then we get a better idea of how you actually want to tell this story. No, I think calling him a vindictive little loser pretty much gets my point across. I don't care about his race. I care about the fact that he was vindictive, that he published a video to publicly humiliate someone and got her kicked out of college. I don't care how bad your high school years may have been, that's not something that a good person does. In addition, to the guy in this video who I've never heard of, well now you have, you will never understand for what it is like to be treated a certain way because of your minority skin color. Trust me on this one. You are white male privilege at its finest. And there you have it. I have white male privilege. This is a comment that I see fairly frequently when I talk about issues of race. After all, my white male privilege did certainly allow me to grow up in a single-parent household, living in government housing, on government food stamps, and going to a very poor public school. All of that is because I have white male privilege. And if that's what white privilege entails, then I don't want it, and you guys can have it. It's for sale. This person is making assumptions about me based solely on my race and I guess my gender. That, to me, seems racist. But it can't be racist because I'm white, and as people like Robin DiAngelo say, you can't be racist against white people in this country. Also, saying I'll never understand what it's like to be a minority, well, it's true that I am not black. I have been in countries for years where I was the minority. In Mexico, I was the whitest person within miles for quite a long time. So, I kind of do understand. My white male privilege, did it follow me there in Mexico too? Perhaps. It's a very mystic thing, you understand. Why are you trying to cancel Jimmy Galligan? I thought you were against cancel culture. Or is it only when you're protecting racism? Well, it's simple actually. I'm not. I am not trying to cancel him. At no point in this video or my previous video do I say I want him kicked out of his college if he is going to college or fired from his job or anything like that. Because I don't want that to happen. He should have the right to say and do kind of what he wants to do. He didn't do anything illegal. That being said, I can still criticize him because what he did was a jerk move. Criticizing someone does not equal trying to cancel them. There are different things. If you had a guy tape himself saying derogatory things about a woman, then there would be little debate that he's a scumbag. So why do we have double standards? Ask yourself that. Okay, I just did. And I think there's a very big difference, a few of them actually. One, if he was 15 when he did it and it was 4 years later, you can't really assume he's the same person. People change a lot, especially from the age of 15 to 19. But also, even if he did tape himself saying pretty messed up things, does that mean he should get kicked out of his university? Should he be fired from his job? Well, no, not really. It can make you a jerk, but even jerks can still go to college and can still work. You're calling him a horrible person for sharing a video that she shared herself. It is very petty, but bashing him for his bad judgment is the same as bashing her for her bad judgment. Well, no, it's not. She shared a video of herself that is completely true, and she was really stupid to do it. She should not have done that. The difference here is the intent. He shared the video, not to one of his friends, but he shared it publicly to humiliate and shame her, and got her kicked out of college. There's a very big difference there. Once you said, I'm not condoning what she said, that was all we need to hear. All the other BS you may have is not important. You need to know the severity of what she did. It's not about the video. It's about the awareness at the school and across the nation. I know for a fact at that school, everyone is saying it. Well, I guess they know virtually everyone at that school because you couldn't know that for a fact without knowing every single student at that high school. And fun note here, by the way, my wife actually went to this high school for 1 year. Racism was born from the government to encourage fools like you to think tearing each other down is normal. And I like that I'm the one tearing someone down, even though Jimmy Galligan is the one who, with malicious intent, decided to share that video and make it go public. So I'm just giving my opinion here. I don't want any harm to come to Jimmy Galligan. He, on the other hand, was not so nice. Now, obviously, I can't read every single comment, but I do want to look at one more. And this one, I kind of saw a number of different people say something along these lines. They said, more or less, why do you think people on the left are okay with this? Now, obviously, I'm generalizing here. When I say people on the left or liberals say X, that doesn't mean that everyone does, but it does mean you'll find a broader share of them on the left than you will on the right. And cancel culture is a perfect example. Cancel culture is by and large a product of the left. Sure, you'll find people on the right who also abide by cancel culture, but most of them are on the left. If you look just at the comments that I've read today, I'd be willing to bet that the majority of them, if not all of them, lean left politically. And they're not only okay with it, they are encouraging it. They think that what happened is a good thing because she was taught a lesson and we're all going to be taught a lesson by example. And that's why I said that people on the left are okay with this, because there aren't enough prominent people on the left who are outspoken against cancel culture like this. And so cancel culture is running rampant, mostly among liberals. And real quick before we take off, if you still disagree with me on all of this, if you think that what happened to Mimi Groves is warranted and acceptable, where does it stop? Specifically, let's say she's applying for a job a few years from now once she graduates college, whatever college she goes to. Do you think that 4 years from now, it would be acceptable for employers to say, well, 8 years ago, you said the N-word in this video, so we can't hire you. We're sorry, you just won't fit here. How long do we have to wait until she is eligible to be forgiven? Apparently 10 years isn't even enough because Kevin Hart was not allowed to host the Oscars based on things that he had said 10 years prior. So maybe 20 years? 30 years from now, perhaps she'll have a normal life and no one will remember her. But the fact of the matter is that there doesn't really seem to be any limiting principle here. If it's okay for a college to kick you out based on something you said 4 years ago, then it should also be okay for an employer to fire you based on something you said 8 years ago or 12 years ago. I just don't see a significant difference here. And that's why cancel culture is really problematic. There are no real guidelines. If you say something bad at any point in time, you can be punished for it in the future. Whenever they want to bring it up, you're going to be punished once again. As always, thank you for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And I'll see you next time.